Welcome to Alternative Investments Chat,
where we demystify the world of alternative investments and financing for entrepreneurs and investors alike.
With these discussions, we hope you're more empowered to unlock opportunities in your business or portfolio. I'm Erin.
And I'm Erica. Let's get started.
Hello, I'm Erin, and I'm here with my co-host Erica. Today, we're going to be talking about family offices and how they are shifting towards alternative investment options. Yeah. Let's start with the basics. What is a family office?
Do tell.
Investopedia defines a family office as a private wealth management advisory firm that serves ultra-high net worth individuals. Family offices are different than traditional wealth management shops in that they offer a total solution to managing the financial and investment needs of an affluent individual or family. For example, in addition to financial planning and investment management, many family offices offer budgeting, insurance, charitable giving, wealth transfer planning, tax services, and more. Basically anything that you could need.
Anything that involves money and making it grow, right?
Yes,
essentially.
Exactly. According to a report from Deloitte Private, published in September of 2024, there are an estimated 8,030 single-family offices in the world today. This is up roughly 6,130 from 2019. That's a lot of growth.
Yeah.
This number is projected to grow by more than 10,720 by 2030. That's just in 5 short years. And that's a remarkable 75% increase. Crazy.
Yeah.
Similarly, family offices' total estimate assets under management, or AUM, are expected to rise 73% from 3.1 trillion to 5.4 trillion by 2030.
My eyes just rolled.
It's a lot of money.
Whoa, that's a ton. So, why is this relevant to us?
Great question.
Yeah. So family offices, like you said, are on the rise and increasingly turning towards alternative investments. So this basically means that wealthy families are reducing reliance on those public markets. Again, we're seeing this more and more. Yep. We want to diversify our portfolio, and the public markets just aren't holding up to what we remember when we were growing up. So family offices have been traditionally thought of as having the primary goal of wealth preservation.
Sure.
But this is no longer the case. So it seems there's been a shift towards performance or wealth growth as a goal rather than that wealth preservation. Alternative investments help achieve this goal by offering competitive interest rates, which could lead to higher returns compared to, again, those traditional asset classes.
Totally. So we've talked about the benefits of investing in alternative investments before, but for those who may just be joining us now and maybe you're like, what is it about these alternative investments? I'm just going to do a quick review about why they can be attractive for investors. Number one, diversification. We know this. This is probably the biggest selling point. Alternatives help diversify your portfolio due to the non-correlated nature of these assets to the traditional assets. This is also true for family offices and even for retail investors who incorporate alternatives into their portfolio.
Okay.
Additionally, higher returns. As you mentioned earlier in this pod, many alternatives can offer higher returns and therefore higher profits compared to traditional investments. Family offices, which often have these long-term investment horizons, are attracted to the potential to outsize returns emerging from these markets, early stage companies and niche sectors that alternatives can offer them.
Awesome.
What are some other selling points?
Well, other selling points that you don't probably think about is a potential for greater control and influence. So family offices can play an active role in management or decision making, which may not be possible with publicly traded stocks. Again, You don't have somebody saying assisting you if you just go on to purchase something on the S&P 500 or something. No one's guiding you.
You're not having like direct involvement with that company.
Exactly. So according to a Forbes article called The Future of Wealth, Key Investment Trends for Family Offices in 2025 by Josipa Mazik-Pazin. So I'm going to quote what she says. Increasingly, family offices are acting as general partners in private equity and venture capital deals, building in-house investment teams, and even developing their own proprietary investment platforms. We'll talk more about this later on in this episode, so just earmark that for right now, and we'll swing back. We'll circle back.
Great.
Another benefit, since we're talking about all these amazing benefits of alternatives, is that appealing to family offices is an opportunity for impact and mission-driven investing. Again, we love the mission-driven investing as millennials. We know that people are increasingly interested in aligning their wealth and investment choices with their values.
Right.
And this holds true for family offices as well. Now you've got a partner to also help you align your values. The alternative investment sphere has plenty of investment opportunities, if we break down tons of them here on this podcast, like clean energy, sustainable agriculture, and tons more.
Right, totally. So now that we have refreshed our memories on the key selling points of alternatives, I want to bring up the concept of Family Offices 3.0. In the UBS Family Office Quarterly, Mark R. Tepsich introduces the concept of Family Office 3.0, which is basically the most recent evolution of family offices. Okay. It's important to note that Tepsich is talking exclusively about single-family offices, or SFOs, not multifamily offices, so just keep that in mind.
Got it.
Let's have a little history lesson here, starting with the origins of family offices, or as Tepsich calls it, family offices 1.0.
Version 1.
Version 1. This is before the global financial crisis circa 2008. SFOs have been around prior to this. SFOs have been around for forever, basically. But they started to gain more traction here. However, there was no playbook for how SFOs could work. They had been around, but they weren't major players. So a number of SFOs were small compared to now and weren't actually taken very seriously. And there wasn't great infrastructure set up for them to succeed.
That makes sense. So that brings us now to Family Offices 2.0.
Love.
So these single family offices were born out of private equity boom. There are 3 characteristics that took shape during this time.
Okay.
So there's legitimate industry response. So SFOs begin to finally are taken seriously.
Right.
Accounting firms, banks, and other players in the financial sphere start to realize that there's opportunities in these single family offices. Right. There are tech solutions become available finally. The tech solutions were beginning to develop to serve the SFOs specifically, not just these big players in the market. And then there was a recruiting firms actually finally appear. So recruiting firms built to specifically serve SFOs.
Right. Yeah. So things are starting to be more catered to SFOs, which is helping them succeed. And that brings us to Family Office 3.0. This is the next phase of SFOs, and it has been dubbed the convergence, which sounds a little scary to me, but it's a good thing. Yeah. There are a few predictions about what the future will look like according to this report. SFOs will use more outside resources, which will make them more efficient and help them cut costs. This will lead to the creation of more SFOs. They don't have to build their own tech and tools themselves. They can utilize tech and tools that have been developed by other people. They can use that to run their own business, which is going to help alleviate some of the stress and pressure off of them.
Nice.
And these tools are actually built by people who have SFO experience. So they know what SFOs need and how to make their lives easier and how to help them run their business more effectively.
That makes complete sense to me. And then one of the biggest characteristics of this next phase is the convergence that you mentioned of private equity and family offices. They come together and mesh.
They're getting married.
Yeah, I like that. So one of the biggest characteristics of this next phase is the convergence of private equity and family offices. They're coming together. They're having a little marriage.
Yep.
And
they're in love.
They are
in love. They love each other.
Like Sally met Harry.
Perfect.
I just watched.
You just watched that movie. I know.
I love it. So we know that family offices have been a source of patient capital. We talked a little bit about patient capital in our last episode. So meaning that SFOs aren't necessarily looking to just flip investments in a short time frame for a quick buck.
Right.
Instead, SFOs are getting involved in private equity and operating more as general partners or GPs. They're investing their capital and thinking about their investments in terms of generations, not just the years like traditional VCs, for example.
Right.
They actually want to make an impact and be directly involved with the business strategies and decisions. They want to, boots on the ground.
Right.
Tepic says that SFOs are builders and operators. They are always wanting to grow and expand. Few are content to sit on the sidelines and watch money come in passively. They want to be in the mix, so to speak.
Right.
Again, like I said, there
Absolutely.
is acting as private equity general partners allows the SFOs to use their experience and their expertise to focus on long-term growth as opposed to that quick cash.
Yeah, totally. So to wrap up our conversation here, I thought that there was some interesting information included at the end of this report.
Okay.
Turns out family-owned businesses typically outperform non-family-owned businesses.
Interesting.
Very interesting. This comes from research done by McKinsey & Company that was published in March of 2024. Okay. I know there's some people out there who are thinking, no way, I could never work with my family. It would be a disaster. But there are some key reasons why that leads to success. And, this is why some of these characteristics and that success transfers over into family offices as well. There's a shared culture and purpose. Obviously, with a family, you all come from, the same place, you share certain values, and you all have shared goals. When you have a conglomerate of people from all different families, they might all have different goals and values, right?
Right.
That can be what's great about a diverse workplace. But it's interesting that having people that all come from the same background can also help strengthen the business as well. They can also have a long-term perspective, right? They're not just thinking about themselves. They're thinking about, their sons and daughters, their grandchildren, passing along that money, making sure that the money goes to the next generations and that they're setting up those people for success. Also, cautious financial stance. They're not really willing most of the time to just risk it all, right? Because they've worked so hard to put things together, and there's other people that are collateral in the business as well. Their sisters, their brothers, their aunts, their uncles. So they're typically a little bit more cautious with the decisions that they make.
That's really, really interesting. So, that concludes our conversation for today. There's a few key takeaways from this conversation that I think are, once again, worth mentioning.
Sure.
Family offices are turning to alternative investments more and more.
Right.
Family offices themselves are on the rise. We talked about that at the very, very beginning. I can't believe they've, in 5 years are going to be up 73%. It's wild.
It's nuts.
And then the private equity boom and the family offices boom is tied together. Again, that little in matrimony.
In a love.
With more family offices acting as private equity GPs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in to today's podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I would really suggest tuning in or reading. That's what you do when you look at an article.
You can listen to it. There's audiobooks.
You can, that's true. But the two sources that we mentioned in today's podcast, the Forbes article as well as the UBS report, I would really suggest diving into those.
Yeah.
There's way more in those two pieces of material than we discussed here. In the UBS quarterly family office report alone, that is, many, many, many pages.
Yeah.
Lots of very interesting stuff there. We'll have those linked for you so you can check them out. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more insight on our next episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to continue the Alternative Investments chat. See you next time.
Content provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional, financial, or investment advice. This podcast should not be construed as an offer to sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy any securities. We strongly recommend that you seek advice from a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.